Thank you very much, Mr. Robert Kanusan. You are the CEO of Myanmar United States Trade Council. So can you describe that organization first, and just to let Myanmar audience know about that newly formed organization?
Yes. Well, Dr. Bart Fisher, my partner, and I are delighted to work with the people of Myanmar and creating the Myanmar-U.S. Trade Council is our platform to help trade increase between the United States and Myanmar, to help Myanmar increase its economic level of activity. We formed the Myanmar-U.S. Trade Council the day that the president of Myanmar was here in Washington, D.C., May 20th.
Recently, your organization released that press statement calling for a United States government to grant duty-free status for import of Myanmar imports under its generalized system of reference. So what kind of trade you have in your mind? What kind of imports from Myanmar you are talking about?
Well, Myanmar has many great products and services that are very attractive to the United States and its citizens. I'd like to go right away to tourism. Myanmar is called the Golden Land, and it is truly the Golden Land. I've recommended that many people go there, and they have either gone there with their wives or their girlfriends, or they're planning, and every single one have come back thrilled and enchanted by the beauty of the countryside and the warmth of the people. So tourism is a very strong attraction for the people of the United States and the people of the world. There's many Europeans there already. Myanmar is going to build a very large new airport in addition to have already expanded the Yangon airport. So Myanmar is doing the right thing in that regard. We met with the Minister of Transportation in May, and they spoke about the possibility of an airport. Now they've announced a new, very large airport, and that is a very good idea because Myanmar is going to be a huge travel destination and bring millions of U.S. citizens, tourists, as travelers, because Myanmar has a wonderful climate. The rainy season is a little difficult, but the climate is you guaranteed good weather. For example, if you go to Bermuda and the Bahamas, well, of course, it's much shorter distance to travel, but it's not guaranteed good weather. Myanmar, you have guaranteed warm weather, so that's going to be a good attraction. The other thing is that the high-end U.S. consumer has never been to Myanmar, so they've never been there. So, you know, many people want to go to a place they've never been before.
So before I go back to my original questions, I follow up with your answer. So do you believe that tourism will improve long-term or help long-term development of Myanmar?
Absolutely. I like
In what way?
I like Thailand a lot, and many people like Thailand. In fact, many Americans retire in Thailand, and so do many Europeans. But I am prejudiced towards Myanmar. So if Thailand had 15 million visitors last year, and Myanmar only had 1.5 million, I predict to you here today on your show that Myanmar's tourism will surpass Thailand's tourism within 10 years, maybe within 5.
So there's a lot of arguments that Myanmar is open for international business, and also from the other side, Western sanctions where about some of them were lifted, some of them remains. Is it what Myanmar people need, tourists or kind of investment or a kind of a long-term development to help their life prosper in a way?
Myanmar needs both. They need the tourism dollars, which they can start generating right away, but they also need long-term investment because that creates skilled jobs, manufacturing, information services, and those are high-quality, good skilled jobs. And this brings into the issue of the need for education in Myanmar, which we're also working on. It's one of the most important pillars of the work of the Myanmar-U.S. Trade Council, education. Now, I don't want to brag about Myanmar. Obviously, I am. But there's no crime in Myanmar. The people don't steal. And I know there's been recent publications about the terror of Buddhism, and I have never seen any fear. I have never been afraid, and I'm a cautious person, in any street, in any city, in any instance in Myanmar. And this is going to be a big draw for grandmas and moms and little kids and dads and couples in love to go to Myanmar, because it has no smut and it has no crime. And it's very safe at all times of day and night. And this is a very big attraction. I'm from New York, and I grew up in New York, and New York used to be a very dangerous place. So safety. Now, safety is important not only for tourism, but for investment. And businesses don't want to invest. I have very large institutional clients, and many of them say, we really don't want to invest in a place that's dangerous. Unless we can go visit and freely and comfortably, we really don't want to go. And when the world finds out more about Myanmar, there's going to be a continued rush. We've only begun to see the beginning of the tidal wave.
So increased tourism is, as you mean, that is an indicator of safetyness and freedom environment for investment.
Well, we have to do a lot of work on constitutional reform, the rule of law, social society, and corporate social responsibility before U.S. investors are going to come en masse. And that's needed in Myanmar. We need to continue that reform.
Yeah. Now I'm going back to my original questions. It is your organization call for duty-free status for Myanmar imports.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What kind of imports and you are talking about?
Myanmar used to be the rice bowl of Southeast Asia. Myanmar has some of the most interesting varieties of rice in the world. As we get older, people like to have smaller portions of very unique food. And Myanmar has wonderful blends of different types of rices. So that would be a very good export. After rice, we have teak. Myanmar has the most beautiful teak in the world. We know that teak is the most beautiful wood, and Myanmar is abundant in teak, and I have been all through the teak fields, and there's a very big opportunity there. Oil and gas. Myanmar benefits from having substantial resources in oil and gas, so much that you've seen the recent pipeline going through Myanmar into China. This will increase now that Myanmar is open for investment as they continue democratic reform. The major oil and gas companies, if that democratic reform continues, will feel more comfortable. But you have to have rule of law before you have massive investment. Yeah. Now you have the teak, you have the rice, you have the tourism, you have gems in Myanmar. Rubies. Myanmar has over 80% of the world's rubies. Needless to say, women love rubies and gems.
I'm glad that you mentioned about rubies, because very recently the U.S. government extended its ban on the import, especially jade and rubies from Burma, citing that there's been some area of improvement in the reform process. This is a kind of a very much heated debate. I remember that back about a few months ago at the U.S. Trade and Commerce Department, the Myanmar trade delegations arrived and argued for the same call you made it, like duty-free treatment for the Myanmar import.
Subject to having more democratic reform.
At the meanwhile, a lot of organizations, pro-democracy and pro-human rights organizations are putting forward their argument, saying that there's a lot of problems still exist. For example, like child labor, for example, like forced labor issue, And also what you mentioned in a rice product, especially in a paddy feed, there's a lot of problem about land grabbing issue. And on top of that, Myanmar economy is now overwhelmingly controlled by cronies. It is going to the crony capitalism, they say that. So what do you take on that, all these arguments?
Well, crony capitalism exists throughout the world. Take a look at Russia. It's a perfect example of crony capitalism gone wild. You have to take a look at the Obama administration's viewpoint. They want to see, and we want to see at the Myanmar-U.S. Trade Council, more democratic and constitutional reform. And as I've said a few times already, we need to see and we advocate more corporate social responsibility. So our great president has decided to move slowly until he sees more democratic reform, and we agree with him.
All right. Because I talked to the few business people in Burma, and they are saying that, of course, after opening and or after relaxing a lot of sanctions from the United States, a lot of people went there or came in, according to them, to the country. But in the station, they are just looking around only. There's no what I call substantial investment or kind of a solid business coming in yet.
Well, Coca-Cola's already invested $250 million. Hilton is building a new hotel in Yangon that'll be finished next year. So there are steps being made, but you're absolutely correct. By and large, the medium and large U.S. business is taking a go-slow approach to Myanmar because there's many other countries that have rule of law and have corporate social responsibility that have low labor rates. So Myanmar has a lot of competition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Naksen.
Thank you.